I'm very pleased to welcome everyone here tonight. Thank you for your interest in coming out. Women Inspiring Women, Women's Institute, was founded in February of 2015. Our current membership of 50 women are a thriving group ranging in age from 20 to 80, the average age being around 35, and are from every walk of life. What we have in common is a desire to meet other women from our community, to socialize, to learn from each other, and to help each other and the community around us. Women's institutes have worked together to successfully lobby various levels of government for many things over the years, from Adelaide Hoodless working to standardize pasteurization of milk, to the legislation of slow-moving equipment signs on farm equipment, to current work for better detection and treatment of Lyme disease. We'd like to say we're not your grandmother's WI. We are proud of the roots of the WI going back to the 1800s and have found a way to marry the long traditions with the life of today's woman and society. Along with our regular monthly meetings, we have formed small groups as members have volunteered to organize various things such as book club, dinner clubs, craft groups, gardening, cards, singing, you name it. Learning from fellow WI members willing to share their skills is also an important part of our program. We've offered many workshops including dill pickle making, card making, soap making, pie making, sign painting, just to name a few. Each month we have a community giving opportunity for members that has allowed us to support many local charities such as St. Leonard's, Nova Vita, Crossing All Bridges, after-school art programs, the Mohawk Chapel, and many others. We meet regularly on the second Thursday of each month, except July and August. There's an information table at the back of the room, actually just out in the foyer, and you can also feel free to speak with one of our members here tonight. Could I ask all of our WI members who are here to please stand? To speak to these women if you're interested and have questions about the WI. We welcome you to attend. Your first couple of meetings are free while you decide if this is something that you enjoy joining. We do have some expenses for the room tonight. We put out a donation jar at the back of the room. If you feel inspired to drop in a loonie or a toonie as you leave, we would appreciate your support. We're very happy to be hosting tonight's event as we feel it's important for our community to meet the candidates and to ask questions. Our members are very politically aware, and while our meetings never touch on politics, we do discuss issues that are important to us. Just as a word to you, as noticed, Roger Duck of Sustainable Brant is videotaping this evening. I'd like to introduce our moderator for this evening, Marilyn Sewell. Marilyn is an active member in our branch, and I'll turn the mic over to her to explain our agenda and tonight's process.
Thank you very much, Elaine. Well, we are more than pleased to see the crowd that's here tonight. Steve, can you hear me in the back?
Yep.
Good. So I said to Elaine, sometimes you get good ideas, and sometimes the best thing is to keep that good idea to yourself. As soon as you tell somebody else about it, an idea takes shape, and we have tonight. So we are very thrilled with the crowd, and we're going to get some extra chairs to come up from downstairs, and there's a few extra here at the front, so we'll try to make you as comfortable as possible. This is our very first attempt to do anything like this, so we will ask your forgiveness up front for things that we may have forgotten or that we haven't figured out just perfectly, but we've learned along the way, and we're really pleased that you're here to support us. The candidates have all been very cooperative in planning tonight, and I know they are very, very busy in the midst of a series of meetings just like this one, plus managing all your campaign efforts. And so thank you from your fellow citizens for stepping up to represent your party and make this election a choice for voters. We expect the meeting to be... Thank you. We expect the meeting to be finished by about 9:30, depending on the questions. And I'm going to explain the format that we're going to be using. We've shared our agenda with the candidates, so they're well aware of our timing, which is being adjusted as we speak. So we have some timers up here that will flash the cards to help you out. Each candidate will be given up to 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we'll have about 90 minutes of questions, which you are busily filling out now. If you have one while someone's speaking, just put it up, and one of our team will get the questions. We are looking through them so that we don't ask 3 questions in a row that are exactly the same. So if your exact words don't appear, please don't be offended. We're trying to put the themes together in the best way that we can. If you wish that only one candidate answer a question, you can make that known on your card, but I think we'll give everybody a chance that wishes to. I will read all the questions so everyone can hear them, and each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond. The timekeepers up front will be giving them the notice of the time, and we do actually have a bell, so I want you to ring my bell, or the bell. So we'll just gently ring that if you've gone over the 2 minutes. So before we get into the official part of the introductions, we've had 2 gentlemen come forward tonight that we weren't aware of, and we negotiated with both of them to give some remarks, use their remarks at the beginning and at the end for their particular views on their candidacy. I guess, Dave, I'm going to have to ask you to not sit at the tables for the remainder of the night, if that's okay. I really appreciate your flexibility.
That's not okay.
So we have, first of all, I'll give Dave the mic. And Dave Robel is an independent candidate, so he'll take his 3 minutes to give his introduction and story of his candidacy.
Thank you, Marilyn. There's a most famous cliche that I think is a call to arms or a call to action. You'll know as soon as I say it. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I want to take that one step further for our call to action. My name is Dave Robel. I'm an independent candidate for our riding association, or our riding of Brantford-Brant. I'd like to express that it takes more than a voice better than change. It takes you to be the change. That's the call to action tonight. That is the call to action on June 7th. Again, my name is Dave Robel, 51-year-old husband, 29 years of marriage, beautiful wife Sherry, 2 amazing children, both grown from their colleges, and hopefully at some point we'll find me as an empty nester. I'm a community college professor for Mohawk College. I've been there for 15 years teaching academics, specifically in skilled trades and construction engineering technologies. I've also served the community of Brantford, Ward 4, as a Ward 4 councillor for 3 elected terms. I was also a candidate for mayor in the last municipal election. I bring a handful of community experience, solid voice, strength for independence. When I talk about independence, it is hands-free. There are no strings attached with that type of representation. There are no parties involved, which affords me, as a candidate and an elected representative, to work with other organizations and other groups of parliament, other parties, if you will, without fear of reprisal, to be able to find the best possible solutions for our communities. And our communities is not just Brantford and Brant. It is 6 Nations, Mississauga, New Credit, it's Paris, it's Burford, it's North Dumfries, it's Mount Pleasant, it's St. George, it's Brantford. That's our communities. And within all of those micro communities is a uniqueness to each of them. Each of them with their own identifiable concerns that need to be led and addressed. I have that opportunity to represent in that fashion. bring those concerns. I work forward to push the policies ahead. That is grassroots representation, ladies and gentlemen. On June 7th, I offer the challenge to you to make the fundamental difference and recognize the independence that comes with a strong, articulate, and authentic voice. One that is experienced, dedicated to represent your issues. My name is Dave Robel, your independent candidate.
Thank you, Dave. And Dave will have time at the end of the program, and then we'll also be here to answer individual questions as well. The next gentleman that is going to do the same thing as Dave did is Leslie Bory. Make sure I got that correct. From the Canadian Choice Party.
Good evening, everyone. As the lady said, my name is Leslie Bory. I'm a reluctant candidate. I'm a federal candidate, generally speaking, to see the best changes coming to the federal level. This is just putting an honest face, in my opinion, in a place where you can vote for it. All I want to do is be an honest presence. I really don't believe I can do a whole lot legislatively to help you at the provincial level. We've got far too many agreements with other countries and corporations to really wiggle our way out of where we are right now. Now, there's another reason for me to be here as well. I got a chance to work with a gentleman who I ran against federally. He's a very honest man. His name is Bob Yazdanfar. I joke around with him. It's always lost on him. He's got some dry humor going. Basically, I tell him we can make an abomination, kind of off the Ford, kind of the way the Ford guys do. But Bauman's a really nice guy. He's from Iran. He came through Afghanistan. He was a doctor. He saw a lot of kill, a lot of harm. When he got to Canada, get this, a guy from those countries looks at our system and says, this is corrupt. I better do something about it, okay? So that's Bob Yazdanfar, my boss for this election. Now, there's another reason I'm here. And it's not just to be a representative for 130,000 people in this riding. Inspiring women, I see that sign there. I've been inspired by a woman. I'm inspired by an honest woman. Her name's Monica Schaefer. And right now she's sitting in a German penitentiary because she said the truth. She gave her mom crap a few years ago because her mom was German and she thought that maybe she had her hand in the Holocaust. Well, Monica did some research and concluded differently from other people. And Monica made a video apologizing to her deceased mother, and she went back to Germany. Now, I don't like what she did, but she went back to Germany. Like, I don't think it was a good idea for her to do this, and she ended up getting sent to prison for this. So I just want to raise some awareness that an honest politician said the truth, and another country decided to put her away for doing that very thing. All right, so you've got a few choices here. You've got a few better choices than others, I think. I think some of the independents would be your best choice here. Myself, I probably won't even finish my term because when it's time to run federally, that's what I'm going to be doing. And that's what I'm going to try to make the biggest change I can for you all. But for now, here I am. My name's in the ballot. I'm in the game still. I wasn't given an equal opportunity with the rest of the people, so I'm going to decline to sit around like a stooge. I'm going to leave after I say my piece here, and I appreciate the chance to do that little thing right there. Thank you very much for 30 seconds. Some other people didn't even give us that chance. So, for what it's worth, thank them a little bit for the little bit they've given us, and I appreciate that. It's a taste of democracy isn't the whole thing, but whatever. In this Zionist world, you're lucky to be alive. Never mind have a chance to vote for things. Okay? And I don't even know if your vote really counts. Because I don't know if things are real honest when they get counted when things happen. I've been in politics for a few years now. This is my 6th election, 5 federals, and this is my 1st provincial. Thank you. Good day.
Thank you very much. I really wish either the microphone was longer or I had a longer neck or something, I'm not sure. So I have a portable microphone that the candidates will get to use, and we're going to do the introductions in alphabetical order by party, and the closing remarks will be done in the opposite way. And so you each have 3 minutes for this opening part. So we'll start off with the Green Party with Ken Burns. You might want to stand up so everybody can see you, just because we don't have a riser.
Mike is my friend. Well, thank you very much. I'd really like to thank our local Women Inspiring Women's Institute branch for organizing tonight. And thank you to all of you for coming out tonight. I'd also like to recognize that we're meeting on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. In preparing for tonight's meeting, I've learned more about the Women's Institute and the values that you believe in. Educational programming and community support, advocating for social, environmental, and economic change, working collectively for personal growth, family, and community benefit, providing a forum for open discussion where every voice is heard, no matter how small or quiet, and sharing your voice with women around the world. That's inspiring to me. So thank you for all the work that you do in our community and for future generations. We have a lot in common. I also believe in community, service, and speaking truth to power. Because I believe in the power of stories to bring people together, I went to work in theater. I became a stage manager. Some of you may have seen my shows, Beethoven Lives Upstairs, Forever Clad, Phantom of the Opera. Because I believe in the power of people working together for common benefit, I went to work for the Professional Association of Canadian Performing Artists to stand up for artists' rights and improve working conditions in Canadian culture. Because I believe in the power of renewable energy and community power to strengthen our resilience and the local economy, I started a local business to help homeowners and farmers make money while generating clean energy for Ontario. Because I believe in fair wages and a level playing field for business, I went to work for the Ministry of Labour as an employment standards officer to promote fair, safe, and harmonious workplaces. Because I believe in lifelong education, I went back to school at age 45 to earn a master's degree in environment and business. Because I believe in family, my wife and I built a house with a place for my mother to live at home as long as possible, as independently as possible. Because I believe in community and the need to balance our economic, social, and environmental concerns, I'm a long-standing member of Brantford's Environmental Policy and Brownfields Committees. We're at a tipping point. People across Ontario know it. Climate change is impacting municipalities now more than ever. Increasingly, people are realizing that if we don't get our policies in line with what's going on with the weather, then we're going to have bigger problems tomorrow than the ones we have today. And they're voting their values. They're doing what some used to say was impossible. They're electing Greens in Ottawa and across Canada and New Brunswick, PEI and BC, where they hold the balance of responsibility. Sustainability is a big word, but the idea is simple. It's about building the communities we want at a price we can afford now and in the future. Thanks very much. I look forward to tonight's discussion.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening. I would like to thank WI, Women Inspiring Women, and all of you for coming here from your busy schedule tonight to listen to us. I would also like to thank my co-candidates over here as well. My name is Ruby Chor, and I'm your provincial Liberal candidate from Brantford-Brant in the upcoming election on June 7th. I came to Canada with my husband in 1978. I have 2 children and 2 grandchildren. I got an education of science, degree in science, and also a doctorate in homeopathic medicines. I was in my private practice for 7 years before moving to Brantford in 1992. It's a very welcoming society. We got fit right into it. We opened a small business, which is still successfully running for over 25 years. I helped my husband in this business for 10 years, at the same time was doing my private practice in homeopathic medicines. Now, my interest in community and to serve the community led me to join many organizations on a volunteer basis. I joined United Way, the Grand River Council on Aging, Heart and Stroke Foundation, Cancer Society, Alzheimer's Society, to name a few. I was heavily involved in these, and I also sat on the board for public health and retirement home regulatory authority. My passion for seniors led me to go back to university. As you were mentioning, I like going back to education every few years or every 10 or 11 years, I notice in my life. So I went back to McMaster University and did my degree in dermatology. After doing that, I have been working, some of you probably have met me, at a retirement home, Emberley Place Retirement Home, for over 17 years. Yes, seniors are my passion, so is public health. but that does not mean I ignore anyone else in the community. Children, I love children. So all those things are very important to us. I have been in a close contact with Dave Levac for all these years, and I learned a lot from him. Give back to community, do what you can do, and do good. Do it from heart and stay involved. So I am sure, once I'm your MPP, I'll follow Dave Levac's footsteps, which even if they're large, but I'm ready for that. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
We live in the best community. Our candidates are inspiring. People in the public don't get to see this side of the story. We're campaigning a year prior, sometimes even more. This is a 30-day campaign. People pay attention for 30 days, but we're involved years prior. My name is Rob Ferguson. I'm your Libertarian candidate here in Brantford-Brant. This is my 4th provincial election here in Brantford-Brant. Currently, I am the Ontario Libertarian Deputy Leader here in the province of Ontario. Not only am I running this campaign, but I'm assisting 123 other candidates. That's inspiring. Personally, my wife has served as my campaign manager, Paulina. Politics commonplace at my dinner table, so much so that she has jumped on the ballot this particular election and in another riding. Liberty is very important to me. Rights, freedoms, liberty are a foundation of what the lifestyle should be. Libertarians believe in personal responsibility, less government, and an open free market. When we look at the way we are today, government monopolies control everything. Government decides how you live. Government decides what you eat. Government decides how your income is. Libertarians want more. We want an open market. We want to not take away anything that you already have, but rather allow for non-government options when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to private insurance. We're the only party that will allow choice. Why? Because we are the party of choice. I look forward to the night's debate. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alex Belsky, and I'm proud to be your Ontario New Democratic Party candidate for Andrew Horvath election. Now, I did run in 2014 with the same party, and I'm proud to be your school board trustee on the Brantford School Board. I was elected in 2014, and though I represent the people of Brantford, we take a more cohesive look, right? Because our role as school board trustees is to advocate for public education for all the children within our district. And of course, Paris is a place, where there have been a lot of things happening in public education. And as school trustees, I've heard a lot of your concerns, and it's been my honor and pleasure to serve the community in that way. Now, I'm a small business owner in Brantford, and I'm really proud to be raising my family along the banks of the Grand River. Well, not quite literally, like we do have a home. I earned a degree in women's studies and psychology from McMaster University, and I live in Brantford with my husband, Tim, and our 2 boys. Now, I'm running with Andrew Horvath because I really believe that it's time for a change for the better. It's time in our community to take the next step forward together to ensure that we can bring hope back to people. Because when I'm speaking with people at the door, people are feeling really dismayed with the state of our province after 15 years of a Liberal government. People are feeling frustrated and let down by Kathleen Wynne. And they're recognizing that this election will be about change. But it must be about change that invests in public services, that stands firm against privatization of those public services that we count on, that our families count on. And I was so proud to be able to host Andrew Horvath at Lucy Mills at Blue Dog earlier today and show off the beautiful community that you have here in Paris that we get to enjoy. I want to thank you all for coming tonight, for taking a beautiful spring evening to be here, to be engaged in the democratic process. And I also want to thank the Women's Institute Organizing Committee. This is an important opportunity to come together, and I recognize what a lot of work it is for you. So thank you very much. I'm so looking forward to taking your questions.
Nope. Okay, thank you, Chair Sparky. Hello, neighbors. I'm
Douglas Archer, your friendly neighborhood, none of the above camp. I'm a party. I'm with a party. A lot of people think I'm an independent. I'm not. Sorry. A little nervous. This is a very big crowd, more than the other debates. I'm a medical laboratory technician. I got my diploma at Everest College. And I've never held office like Mr. Balma or Ms. Pepsi, but I have accomplished some things in 4 years as an unelected citizen. I was one of the movers behind getting community gardens put in at the Church of Nazarene, where I attend. I'm on the Brownfields Committee with Ken Burns, and I was assigned to be the architect of the Brownfields Interim Uses document, which may someday be consulted by staff. And I made Ward 2 Alderman in Brantford aware of the parking situation on Duke, which got them to act. Now, I'm running for office because, well, I want to be involved, I want to help people, but also because I've been left disillusioned by the major parties, and I feel like they care more about what will get them into power than what is best for the people. I'm not saying that's the motive of the major party candidates who are here, but that's what I feel what their parties have become. Now, sorry, some notes here. Now, unlike the left who believe in centralization and spending, and unlike the right who believe in privatization and cutting, I believe that our answer should be a third position, a third way, reformation, if you will. Because I believe the best way to make things work is to reform them, to be cost efficient and better at doing their jobs. One of those ways we can make those reformations is through democracy reform. Now think about it. In Ontario, where you can influence policies and direction through referendums, plebiscites, or even invoke recall elections, where you can recall a bad representative or better yet, bad legislation. And those are the things I would strive for, along with other third way reformations, because the government, the state, is not just about internal and external security. It's also about being a transmitter of the spirit of the people. And I hope to elaborate on those reformations later. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. I'm Will Balma, and I'm your Ontario PC candidate for Brantford-Brant. I want to thank the other candidates for being here, for their ideas and their passion. And I really want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It shows that you care, just like I do. And I'd like to thank our retiring MPP, Dave Levac. All politicians should aspire to be as open, fair-minded, and dedicated to their community as Dave. My wife, Joni, and I chose Brantford-Brant as the best place to raise our family and start business. It's been all that and more. I've done my best to live a life of service to my neighbors and to our community. As an optometrist, I've helped thousands of people to see better. As I look around the audience, I can see some of my patients here, and I hope that you can see me. As a volunteer firefighter, I've been able to help people on what might be their darkest day. As a member of the Brant Waterways Foundation, I've worked to connect people with healthy waterways. We build trails so families can enjoy a hike or a bike in some of the nicest scenery around. And as a Brant County Councillor, I've seen how much we can accomplish when we work together across boundaries and across party lines. One example is the new health hub in Paris. At County Council, we work with the medical community and citizens to develop the hub concept so you can get basic medical care you need close to home. Another example is the annexation agreement between the city and the county. The discussions were bogged down for years, but we decided it was time to get something done, so we worked with the city, with the Six Nations, and the province to get a deal. Now there will be new areas for new houses and new businesses in the city, and will be able to protect the farmland in the county. Brantford-Brant is a great place of opportunity. Ontario should be the economic powerhouse of this country. Instead, for the first time, we have become a have-not province. If we want to prosper, we need to fix some things. We pay the highest hydro rates in Canada. Businesses and families are overtaxed. Excessive regulation makes it harder for business to grow and to create jobs. The provincial debt threatens our future and the future of our children. We practice hallway health care in a hospital that needs to be replaced. Seniors wait years to get into a long-term care facility. Parents cannot afford childcare. When I talk to voters, they tell me we need change. They're fed up with the Win Liberals. But with the NDP, you'll go down the same path of higher taxes and uncontrolled spending, just faster. We need more than change. We need to change the direction. We want to make life more affordable for you. We will cut income tax and hydro rates. As your MPP, I will work every day to get Ontario back on track and to ensure Brantford-Brant remains a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Thank you all candidates very much for your opening remarks. Okay, we have a number of questions that we'll start off with. Oh, there's a lot. All right. First question we're going to ask, and I think you've all kind of touched on it a little bit, is what are your thoughts on the expansion of the Greenbelt into Brant County? And we hadn't thought of how the order should go on this, so I'll just let whoever has a thought grab the mic you have to share, and everyone have a chance to speak for 2 minutes if you wish. So whoever wants to start.
Well, I still have the mic here, so. I've always been passionate about protecting and improving our environment and our community's cherished natural resources. That's why I'm a member of the Brant Waterways Foundation. As someone who grew up on a farm and represents the farming community on Brant County Council, I value the hard work of farmers and our strong agricultural industry. As MPP, I will work with the municipalities, the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, and others to protect our water resources in environmentally significant areas throughout the riding. But let's be clear. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture says existing provincial laws and regulations are sufficient to provide farmland, to protect farmland and water resources inside the study area. Just to name a few. We have the Clean Water Act. We have the Conservation Authorities Act. We have the Environmental Protection Act. We have the Great Lakes Protection Act. The list goes on. The County of Brant says it has tough regulations within its official plan to protect the farmland and natural environment within the county. The City of Brantford says the study area includes lands recently annexed by the city, and that they also have those protections in place. The Ontario Federation of Agriculture is clear, as with all of our partners, that there is no need for the expansion of the Greenbelt into our area. Thank you.
So, as I told the Home Builders Association, I think it was last week, I'd say, land for housing and development is good, but land for agriculture and rural ecology is even better. Because my view when it comes to Greenbelt is it's a good thing, conserve the environment, conserve the landscape, conserve the water, etc. I do understand that there's, this need, especially with our current city council, to expand or grow out. And I think it should be growing up because growing up isn't always good for Christmas. But, so my view is, don't shrink the Greenbelt, but don't expand it either. Just keep it the way it is. Now, you can agree with this, you can disagree with it, but under the none of the above government, you would be able to have a say on such legislation, either through a referendum that you could vote, or through a plebiscite where you could give your opinion on that. And if you all say no to it, well, we'll reconsider. So if you want that kind of input and that kind of legislation, please vote no the above.
I've just been given some good advice that probably will save time if you don't stand up each time. Sorry. Just usually. Thank you so much.
So thank you for the question. It's a great question that's on the mind of a lot of people lately, especially with the PC leader Doug Ford's comments about in private to his developer buddies selling off the Greenbelt for development, and then he said something completely different to the people of Ontario. So it's really hard to know, his real position. Look, the NDP has always been very clear. Of course, we're not here for any reason if we don't have access to clean drinking water, if we don't have farms, which, dare I say it, farmers feed cities, right? This is the reality that we live in and we enjoy here in County Brant, some of the most beautiful, some of the most fertile agricultural lands. And we have a duty to protect that for the next generation. But at the same time, it's a balancing act, and we are committed as the Democrats to working with municipal leaders and farmers to find the right balance. But we believe you shouldn't be making decisions without proper consultation and proper study. But I recognize the deal that was made between the county and the city was a long road, and we respect the ability of these municipalities to make those kind of deals.
I've said this a couple times in the debate circuit. The best way to deal with the green belt is to wear a green suit, because then you don't see the green belt. Libertarians, we believe in property rights. So really, if someone willingly wants to sell their property for development, that should be on their own free will. That's a volunteer basis. We have some 360,000 regulations in Ontario. That's overwhelming. Most of that could be eliminated or looked at. When we look at farming, what we're seeing in farming is we're seeing farmers explore with hydroponics and multi-tier farming. But again, it's on a volunteer basis. They're already doing that. We're seeing contractors build multi-complex units. Government hasn't said to do this. They've done it on their own free will. There's a need, there's a market, and we let them be. Government is not the answer. They're the problem.
Lisa, just look outside, how beautiful the greenery looks. Imagine if the world is paved, how would it look? We want our children to see the greenery, to hear the birds chirping, to see fish. Not only that, it cleans the water, it cleans the air, we get the oxygen. Now, coming to farming, yes, it's very important. Farmers are the powerhouse of our economy. They bring 37 billion annually and 800,000 jobs because of the green that they have. As far as I know, the idea of Greenbelt and the discussion on the Greenbelt with the government is because of the study period. They just would like to say, it's a 3-year study period. They just would like to see how important and what should be the boundary of the Greenbelt is. Thank you.
The current debate over the Greenbelt reminds me of another Canadian story. The Newfoundland Grand Banks were once renowned as the world's most productive fishing grounds. By 1975, there was growing scientific consensus that the cod were in crisis, yet nobody wanted to heed the warnings because they didn't know what else to do, until it was too late. By 1992, when the cod catch was the lowest it had ever been, the sudden but inevitable closure of the fishery put 40,000 people out of work. If we don't protect the lands that provide our clean drinking water, we will see the inevitable collapse of our drinking water systems. We must find a way to do things differently before it's too late. The Greenbelt is more than just farmlands and fields, trails and wetlands, river valleys. The natural services that the Greenbelt provides, the clean air and clean water, are valued at $3.2 billion per year and critical to a sustainable future. The carbon offset alone is the equivalent of 27 million cars per year. 9 out of 10 people in Ontario agree that protecting farmland, water supply, and forests against urban sprawl will become increasingly important over time. The Gulf Paris moraine provides our drinking water for Brantford-Brant, and 6 nations. I know many believe that the lands slated for development in North Brantford are important to our economy, but so is the clean water and natural services that those lands provide. People rallied against the ill-conceived notion to reopen the Greenbelt in Halton. They understood that they understood the real cost to our community of those lands. Deciding to develop our lands locally now is as foolhardy as the proposal was to reopen the Greenbelt in Halton. Only 20% of the land slated for development and places to grow have been developed. We can find other places to build that won't jeopardize our supply of clean water in the future.
The next question is all about seniors. We've had several questions tonight wondering about what your party would do to work with services for seniors, healthcare for seniors, housing, affordable housing, healthcare. We are an aging population that will certainly be needing your attention. So your thoughts on how to provide better services for seniors.
Thank you. Seniors are very close to my heart. I work with seniors. I have been working with seniors for 17 years. Their care, their comfort, their dignity is my passion. And that's what I would go and do, even to my last breath. Talking about what we are doing for seniors. Yes, we know a lot of seniors are coming, and we need to have housing available for them. We need to have retirement home spaces available for them. We need to have long-term care beds available for them. We need to have subsidy or help for them. So Ontario government is actually doing a lot at the moment. We are opening 5,000 long-term care beds in 4 years, and then it will be progressed to 30,000 beds in the next coming 10 years. As far as help to the seniors is concerned, 65 and plus, their medications are already free, but they will be also getting some, they won't have to pay any co-payment going forward from August 1st once the Liberals will come back again. And again, they're getting $750 for the stay home for the improvement of any kind of renovation they would like to do. So anything for seniors, I'm always there. I would be a good listener, and definitely I'm in for it. Any care seniors require. Thank you.
Thanks very much. It's a great question. You know, as I said in my introduction, one of the things that I did was, that my wife did, was to build a place in our home for my mother to be able to live in our home, to stay at home for as long as possible, and to be able to live as independently as possible. And I think that's the primary thing that we need to look at when we're talking about aging with dignity and respect, finding ways for people to live at home as long as possible and to live as independently as possible. And I think we can do that in a number of different ways. Certainly by providing support for families who are providing care and support to aging relatives, but also by looking at researching and developing smart home technology that helps provide more support, again, for independent living at home, and increasing our funding for home care and community care. We also need to improve the availability of assisted living and transitional living for seniors so that we can reduce the wait times for elder care by investing in more long-term care facilities. And one of the challenges that we've seen, I think, with long-term care facilities is how we appropriately provide that support in those facilities. And we need to invest much more in frontline services in those facilities so that the staff that are working there, that are caring for seniors, that are providing that support and doing some of the most intimate things, have the proper resources they need to address the needs of the residents that require the complex care. So things like dealing with people with mental illness and addictions, helping residents with acquired brain injury, helping people with brain disorders like dementia. These are all very complex care requirements that can provide unique situations. So how we can help people staying at home for longer, support families, supporting their family, living at home longer, and in the long-term care facilities, helping staff to provide the services that our seniors deserve. Thanks very much.
I'm going to try to agree with Ken here on seniors live better in their home. It's a proven fact. What we need to do is seniors that are living in long-term facilities is look at what's going on. Seniors are treated like a number, just a number. That the rights and responsibilities are supposed to be there, but yet they're treated with such, they say dignity, but in our seniors' homes, it's far from dignity. That needs to change. When we look at living expenses, that's one of those things that is driving our seniors crazy, is the high cost of living, the rent increases, the overall cost of living, gas. What we need to do is lower those costs so their pensions can actually sustain life. We can't make any more money. A grade 3 student will tell you we can't make any more money, but we need to lower the cost of living so these monies will stretch. And libertarians, we will do things like cut the Green Energy Act and time to use billing days and smart meters. These programs are good on paper, but they don't work. They just cost money. So by eliminating them, we can cut your hydro bill in half. Simple things like this to make life easier. When I talk about making life easier, I just think that where we've been for seniors. My grandfather was 96, and he pleaded for services, and he was treated like a number and put at the back of the list, and that needs to stop. Thank you.
Well, this is a really great question, and I'm so pleased it was asked, because Andrea Hoyle and I and our team have a great plan that's really going to change lives of people in this province, including our seniors. Our platform around universal dental care and pharmacy care is going to ensure that every person, including our seniors, has access to the medications they need and the dental care that they need right now. And we also recognize that most people want to stay in their home as long as they can, but they're forced out because the costs keep going up, property taxes are high, hydro bills are through the roof. And we know that sometimes people just need a little bit of extra personal care support work, but the waiting lists are long. So we're going to end waiting lists so that people who need care can get care. Now, when it comes to long-term care, we're seeing a real crisis in our communities around long-term care, and we're committed to creating 40,000 more beds for our seniors, because we understand we're an aging population, but it's not a question only of making sure that you can get a bed, but once you get into that facility, you need to ensure that there is a standard of care. And in fact, I commend the Liberal candidate's commitment to seniors herself personally, but her party voted against a minimum standard of care. And New Democrats would institute 4-hour hands-on care. That's really needed. Now, 15 years Liberals had to make life better for our seniors, and they failed us. And certainly, $6 billion in cuts to our public services will mean, from Doug Ford's PCs, that there won't be anything left for seniors, and that's unacceptable to us as New Democrats.
Well, there's a lot in that one question, so I'll try and get to everything. Okay, is my time up already? That's okay. So, when it comes to cost of living, my view is, like, there's a lot of debate about wages, etc. My question is, wouldn't we be able to afford to live in Ontario if we had a fair tax system? Because, I mean, if we had fair taxes or lower taxes, depending on how you look at it, we would have more money in our pocket and you'd be able to pay more costs. Plus, costs might actually go down with it. So there's that. When it comes to healthcare, I mean, the left seems to, want to push for group therapies or dental practices and, more money in a broken system. And the right seems to want to go in the direction of, the USA with, privatization. I say, why don't we go a third way? Have the private and public working together. For example, in Sweden, Germany, Japan, which have way better healthcare systems. They have, the public hospitals where you can pay a doctor's fee and everything is covered, or you can go to a private practitioner where you pay, 10 to 25% of the bill, everything else is covered, and everyone who's low-income earner is, free all the above. It frees up hospitals, frees up beds, frees up the budget. And when it comes to affordable housing, I mean, I personally think we need to have some kind of economic syndicate in charge of that sector, or we need to have localized housing boards who would be in charge of, rent controls, who would be in charge of, assistance for housing, for building the housing, who gets the contract, things like that. And you would have a say in who's on that board, how they do things, or provincial legislation, referendums, plebiscites. You can tell the government what they're doing right, what they're doing. That is the kind of approach I would like to go for. I would like to consider that on June 7th.
I agree that this is a very good question. In a world where we see so much inhumanity, I believe that we show ourselves best as humans when we take care of our most vulnerable. That's why I supported the low-income seniors housing project at the John Noble Home. That's why I supported the community paramedicine program done by Grant County Ambulance Service. That's why I supported the Paris-Brant Health Hub. That's why the Ontario PCs will build 15,000 new long-term care beds over the next 5 years and 30,000 long-term care beds over the next 10 years. That's why we are not going to get rid of the OPEB Plus program, although it needs revision. I've talked to young families whose expensive medications were covered previously by their private health insurance and now are not under OPEB Plus, and their private health insurance won't cover it anymore either. So they're left paying hundreds of dollars out of pocket. I believe we need a dental care program for seniors, and we're going to put one in place. The fact of the matter is that the Kathleen Wynne Liberals are promising new and expanded benefit programs, but the mountain of debt that they have created means that they will not be able to pay for them. These will be yet more stretch goals or broken promises. The NDP proposes forcing all companies to provide benefits for people. In Canada, we traditionally share the cost of social programs by taxing all people. The NDP wants to put that on the taxpayer and on small businesses. That's not acceptable. Thank you.
Hello. The next question is, what is your party's platform on the plan to increase the minimum wage to $15?
Very simply, if I may, increasing the minimum wage as drastically as we have hurts small businesses and is putting people in Ontario out of work. We've seen a 50% increase in unemployment in our area from a year ago to 7.2% in April. Doug Ford and the Ontario PCs want to help low-wage earners in a way that puts more money in their pocket and protects their jobs. We will do it in a way that is fair to minimum wage workers, employers, and taxpayers. So if you're making minimum wage, you just won't pay provincial income tax. It's that simple. Thank you.
So going none of the above works is that we have a single thing on pursuit reform. There's more to it than that, but paraphrase here. Everything else is left up to the candidates. So some we should have a $50 minimum wage, some think we should lower it. There's probably one person who thinks we should abolish it altogether. I'm not saying there is, but there might be. It's not. But I would like to ask this question to everyone here and to people who watch the video later on. Would we need a $15 minimum wage if we had a fair tax system? I'm pretty sure we can all agree. At the moment, it's not the most fair. Now, one of the things I would like to bring in is tax reform. Unfortunately, I forgot my material, so I can't list off exactly what the reforms I want. But that is one of the things that you might want to think about in the election. Thank you.
Well, thank you. New Democrats are unequivocally supportive of people in all of our communities, in our entire province, having a living wage. And for our community, 3 years ago, it was calculated at $14.86. And so we will not be rolling back the minimum wage the way Doug Ford has promised. We will, in fact, be instituting a $15 minimum wage and then time increases to inflation. However, it's very important to note, Doug Ford's promised no income tax, but it's actually going to cost low-income earners $1,000 that they could have been earning on their paycheck. And we believe that people need that money in their pocket. But we also know that we need to be responsible, because after it's been frozen for so many years and then out of the blue, Kathleen Wynne says, okay, no wonder the business community was taken aback. So in future, we're going to ensure that it's predictable and stable so that business can plan for it. And we'll hear the scare tactics, of course, that the sky is falling, that everything has gone to heck in a handbasket. But the reality is that people in our community have never been better off, because when they're earning a living wage, they're spending that money in their local community and other small businesses. And I'm really proud to stand behind my party's pledge for a living wage.
Government regulation, minimum wage, being libertarian, we would absolutely repeal the minimum wage. The contract between employer and employee should be, I remember my grandma saying, back in my day, well, that's true, because back in their day, government wasn't in your life doing everything for you. Reducing government scopes and practices, lowering the cost of living, lowering tax, the contract between employer and employee should be a sacred thing. I know my wife worked for a senior home, and she worked her butt up, and she got paid the same amount as the people who were slacking off. Well, why is that? Because these guys allow that? Someone who's at a factory for 20 years gets the same pay as someone who's coming in through a temp service. Why is that? Because these guys said so? No. Empower employers to be able to pay based on production and performance would be in a better society.
Minimum wage. Our economy is booming in the last 17 years. We are leading in G7 for the last 3 years. Why is the minimum wage a challenge for any business or anybody? If we would not be able to afford giving $40 now, that means we are just pushing it back and we will never afford. As far as the small business is concerned, I am from a small business. My husband comes from a small business. We can afford to pay our employee. Once we pay good money to our employee, that means we are getting the better service from them as well. Also, talking about Doug Ford, he's already planning to cut 10 billions. I don't know, where is he cutting? Probably in the nurses, in the hospitals, and wherever he can. And his math is not right. He's saying that you can save on your taxes, what, $400, while you can get $1,500 by having more money. So minimum wage should be there, and it's a first goal. Everyone should be able to bring food on their table. They should be able to pay for their household chores. They should be able to have a roof on their head. So minimum wage should not be a problem. I know it's a little bit of a adjustment phase, and government can look into if any help is needed, and they are giving 1% tax break to the businesses, to small businesses to adjust it as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'd like to share a story. When Bill 148 was in consultation last summer, I had the chance to go and participate in one of the consultations, or witness one of the consultations. And for the morning when I was there, we had a lot of businesses and small business owners coming to talk to the committee about their challenges of running a small business, about thin margins, and how a sudden increase to the minimum wage was going to end up costing jobs at the end of the day, and costing businesses, and the hardship that these changes were going to impose. And we heard some other presentations from Workers' Action Center and things like that as well, but most of it in the morning was from the businesses talking about the dramatic impact on small business of the increase to the minimum wage. And then after lunch, a woman came up and presented, just a regular person from the workforce who came because this was an important conversation to her. And when she spoke, she told her story of she started her career as an executive in the travel industry, working in the Caribbean. When she came to Canada, she couldn't get a job because she had no Canadian work experience. So she had to go to work for minimum wage in order to pay the expenses as a single mom trying to raise her daughter. And even working full-time, taking extra hours when she couldn't, she still from time to time had to stay in a shelter with her daughter because she couldn't always afford to pay the rent or pay the expenses. After telling her story that was very compelling, one of the panelists said, all morning we've heard from small business about how jobs could be lost if we increase the minimum wage. What would you have to say to them? And she said, I'm not naive enough to believe that this isn't going to cost a few jobs, or maybe a few businesses might close. But if your business model is predicated on paying poverty wages, then I think you need to rethink your business model. That was a really powerful statement. We'll go well beyond the minimum wage to establish a living wage, a wage that makes life affordable for all people in Ontario, so everyone can afford a home, so everybody can afford to keep the lights on and put food on the table, and even afford to take a vacation with their children once in a while. Thanks very much.
Thank you, candidates. Can you segue it into the next question? Given the high energy costs in Ontario, what is your party's solution to helping families and businesses keeping the lights on without keeping your pockets empty?
Absolutely. Thanks very much for that question. This is one I talk to people a lot all the time. People talk to me about all the time. Our electricity bills keep going up, and there's no relief in sight. Our current electricity system is unsustainable. Yet, instead of real change, the current plan is to borrow billions of dollars that our children are going to have to pay back just to maintain the crumbling, outdated system that we have. Business as usual is going to increase your electricity bill threefold. A lot of people don't realize this, but the plan with OPG to renovate or rebuild the nuclear is going to cost 16.5 cents a kilowatt hour. That's more than 3 times the cost of what it needs to be, and they're going to borrow billions to rebuild these outdated nuclear plants. And they're refusing to do an independent study. No nuclear project in Ontario's history has ever been delivered on budget or on time. Nuclear plants are using outdated technology and in need of constant and expensive maintenance. It's locking us into an old and centralized system that limits the opportunities for new, low-cost opportunities. A much better plan is to purchase low-cost water power instead of high-cost nuclear power. We can buy low-cost water power from Quebec for a third of the cost of nuclear. And more importantly, we can reduce demand for new power by helping people save money by saving energy. We can help people retrofit their homes to save money by saving energy and help create far more jobs doing it for half the cost of nuclear. For half the cost of new nuclear, we could help people retrofit 1.6 million jobs, 1.6 million homes, saving the equivalent amount of energy and creating 90 times as many jobs. That's the win-win. We need to keep our electricity prices low by buying low-cost water power from Quebec and by helping homeowners save money by saving energy.
I would like to start. First of all, the electricity prices, yes, they had shot up, but they're coming down. We're getting the rebate. There is a rebate of 25% to 40% depending on the area, and some of the rural areas and farmers are even getting more than that. Now, would you like to hear a story what exactly has happened and why we are paying a cost for that? We were in a mess with the hydro system. All 3 governments came and left. Nobody had the courage to actually step into it and take a step, a bold step. We all had to bite a bullet one day. There were blackouts happening, brownouts happening. This is not a third world, I will repeat again. How can we prosper? How can the economy will prosper? How can we get the business from international business from outside? How can we build our infrastructure? We had to take the step to upgrade the grid, which was a costly and very costly step to be taken, but it was needed. It was much needed. So just to wrap it up shortly and brief, this is how the money was spent. And then there was from the public, from the people, it was okay. It's very expensive, so they revised it. So they had to amortize it to for the length of for the age of the grid, so that it can be equally divided. But I think people were feeling about that as well, because they were thinking their kids have to pay, their grandkids have to pay. Yes, they had to, but they're getting an infrastructure. They're getting an asset as well. I know it sounds a little bit of harsh in a way when I'm saying that, but it's a fact. Don't we buy the house and then we pay the mortgage, and sometimes if mortgage is not done, our kids pay it, but they're getting a house in turn. So we have got this electricity. Today we are sitting where there is no problem with the electricity. One point I would like to mention, the surplus electricity we have right now, that is one thing I would like to consider when I'll become your MPP, that rebate should be given back to the community, to the province. Could be people who could not afford it, or to even to farmers. There should be some support given to the people. Thank you.
I believe I heard a Green candidate talk about hydro cost and a win-win. I think they should be able to say something. Again, libertarians, we believe in this open market. Some of the issues here is I remember when we started exploring solar energy in the early days, we were generating it for 70 cents, 75 cents a kilowatt hour, and we were selling it for a nickel. I was new to politics, and I remember looking at those numbers going, well, they don't make any sense. Every kilowatt hour, we're losing money. Well, the same thing goes with other suppliers. Expensive contracts that don't make sense. We need to cancel them. We need to open up these markets. We need to get rid of time of use billing. People should not be forced to do their laundry at 3 o'clock in the morning to save 10 cents. We should be charging a flat rate. We shouldn't be selling excess hydro or giving it away to neighboring communities. We should be setting those rates comparable so Ontario taxpayers don't lose them. Inside of our room here, we got some pamphlets. You can find my pamphlet there. It's a little more detail on the energy plan.
At every single door where I'm meeting voters, where I've been meeting voters for the last 6 months, they are so fed up and frustrated that they were lied to by Kathleen Wynne, because 80% of Ontarians did not agree with privatizing our hydro system, and she did it anyway. And that's exactly the opposite of responsible government. Our job is to listen and be your voice and implement what you want, not to line the pockets of our rich corporate friends. And the fourth plan is, in fact, I'm sure you're curious around what that would look like. Well, I'm happy to tell you it's just, in fact, just the same. And so that fourth wind plan around privatization will continue to drive our rates higher and higher. And it's going to dash the hopes of seniors wanting to stay in their homes, of young people looking at balancing mortgage, childcare expenses, and paying the bills. It's only Andrea Horvath and the NDP who have a real costed plan to lower our hydro rates by 30% by bringing Hydro One back into public hands where it belongs, and I'm incredibly proud of that.
Like I said before, I believe Love is a party of nonpartisan, so we don't have a united front on this. And like everyone else here, I assume, I was outraged about the sale of Hydro One. Unfortunately, I've looked at the answers and re-socialize it as the Democrats want. It cost us millions, but what the Liberals and the PCs want are more or less keeping it the same, but also cost us millions. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have to cut Hydro One off the top. However, an answer to our rates is reforming the Ontario Energy Board and turn them into a province-wide, single-purpose government, elected by you the people. Because studies have found that, utilities boards that control, prices, earnings, services, the whole sector, if you will, and they have a good, regulatory climate, they will lower residential electricity rates by 12% than what they are if they're appointed. Industrial, it's lowered by 10%. If they're, elected and they have a bad regulatory climate, they only increase above the appointed, jurisdictions by 2%. I think that's a risk we can take by electing our energy directors or trustees, I'm not quite sure what they are. And they've also found that places where they elect their utilities board, they're more likely to set caps on prices. They're more likely to find better ways of distributing energy. They're more likely to keep things low because they want to get re-elected. And that way we can hold them all accountable and we can put them back in. So, like I say, why don't we try that? We're not, re-socializing it, well, I guess I don't know privatize that, but we're not doing the liberal PC answer. We're doing it the third way, the third position. Thank you.
Let's face the facts. The total liberal mismanagement of Hydro Ontario has cost families dearly and made our province less competitive. Ontarians pay the highest hydro rates of any place in Canada. I continually talk to patients, friends, neighbors, some of whom have retired on a fixed income, who are not going to be able to afford to stay in their house because the cost of living here has gotten just too expensive. The Ontario PCs have an honest and responsible plan that will put money back into your pocket. The average family will save $173 a year, which is about 12% on the average hydro bill. Our friends in the NDP are going to buy back Hydro One with $6 billion of your money, or if not your money, your kids' money, or if not your children's money, their children's money. The money has to come from somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We know that the province has vote-rich areas in the GTA and the 905. How can you assure the people in Brantford-Brant that you know what their interests are, and what would you say if asked, what is the key priority for this riding that you need to take forward?
Well, very simply, I've spent all of my time in this area working extremely hard for you. Whether it's as your optometrist, on the volunteer fire department, with Brant Waterways Foundation, or on county council, and all of those committees. I plan on working just as hard for you at Queen's Park. I work with people. I solve problems. That's what I do for a living. The key issues are simple. Life is no longer affordable. It's not affordable for families. It's not affordable for businesses. It's not affordable for retirees. We have to fix that and get our spending under control. The second issue is healthcare. We're practicing hallway healthcare. We're leaving our patients behind. We're leaving our most vulnerable behind. We have to start by respecting doctors and nurses again. It's that simple. Third, if I'm allowed one more, education. Our kids are failing. They're failing at math. They're failing at literacy. When I was in school, we learned reading, writing, and arithmetic. Let's get back to the basics and do right by our kids so that they can be ready to face the future. Thank you.
Could I just clarify a question? It's about the needs of people in Brantford-Brant and how we move forward. So I've talked to people throughout the neighborhood, a lot of low-income earners, people of various professions, and people at various churches. And I think I have a pretty good idea of what people need. But at the end of the day, it's none of the above or we form government, and we can't with 66 candidates. At the end of the day, you guys should be able to tell me directly what you guys need. And I don't mean just sending me out an email or a phone call and saying, hey, what are you doing, man? It's, you'd be able to actually literally say, by your vote, referendums, plebiscites. Heck, if you think I'm doing a bad job, just recall me. That would be an option. Therefore, in order to meet the needs of you guys, we need to have more voice, we need more participation. And that is how I would like to move forward, and not only Brantford-Brant, like get more elected positions, more referendums, etc., but the whole province. And that is how I think we would best move forward. So I'd like to consider that, consider voting on the above. Thank you.
Thank you. And I really like this question because I think it speaks to the need for people to know their elected representatives and to know their motivation and the reasons that they serve and how connected and how well they understand their communities. And our riding is the largest in Canada, and we're the most populous, and we have a lot of distinct needs in our different communities that make us up. Now, the thing I pride myself on, serving as a school board trustee, is my strong constituency work. Because that's so important when a parent calls and it's an issue relating to their child. For every parent, it feels like a level 10 emergency. And so calling back in good time, helping find a solution together, is all part and parcel of that work. And sometimes it's helping people navigate the system, sometimes it's helping make a connection, or helping with some coaching around messaging, around how to talk to a certain issue. I'm confident in my skills, both in terms of communication participation, in terms of advocacy, in terms of being a strong voice for children in this community and for seniors. But it's also about looking and knowing through my community work with Brant United Way, with the Salt Center, with Canadian Cancer Society, and the many other groups that I serve, what the distinct challenges are. Now, in our communities, healthcare is the biggest challenge we're facing. We're at a crisis point. The services at the Willett are in jeopardy if Doug Ford gets elected, because make no mistake, $6 billion in cuts to public services have to come from frontline workers in healthcare and education. And we all remember the last time we had a BC government in the Harris years, we lost St. Joseph's Hospital in our community, and we're still feeling the pain from those cuts.
I live here, I work here, I practice politics here. As a small business owner in marketing and advertising, I deal with small businesses on a daily basis about the frustrations, financially, physically, the government regulations. Personally, I'm a recovered addict, recovered and alive. I've suffered mental health. I've lived on all sides of the fence of life and relate to any issue. It seems to me that government is the problem. Libertarians, we're big on rights, freedoms, and liberty and small and government. We can't fix the problems created by big government with yet more government. They've proven time and time again, they've mismanaged money, over-regulated policies, interfered in the quality of life. We want to take that away from them. Thank you.
Like they say, in healthy body lives a healthy mind. Healthcare would be the #1 priority I will take on. Liberals are already providing a lot. We reduced wait times. We are spending additional $822 million for hospital operating budget. We already know that Brantford General Hospital has got an expansion budget for $9 million for the emergency room. Whereas 34 major hospital projects are also underway. Next is about the OHIP. We will be expanding our OHIP. Right now it is covering youth under 25 and seniors. It will be expanded to full care with time. Also the mental health, that's another need. So liberal governments are covering from when the child is born, basically from the kindergarten onwards and the preschool, going to the OHIP, covering the OHIP and drug needs, and then mental health, and also free tuition for our students so they can afford going to college and universities and then bring money back, and it will boost the economy. Then coming back to the seniors, 65 plus, we are making them live at home for as long as they want. There is funding coming for that, and they can live with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thanks very much. You know, what is the priority locally? Well, I think water is pretty important. Essential, really. We all know that Ontario is losing green space and farmland at an unsustainable rate. And as we've seen locally, aggregate mining is being prioritized over water, natural heritage, and farmland. And what's the economic justification? The county only gets 7 cents a ton. In Quebec, it's 50 cents. In Saskatchewan, 80 cents a ton. What we get doesn't even cover the costs of the road we have to build. Or we're literally giving it away at a loss and jeopardizing our future water. Greens will recognize the threats that aggregate extraction poses to our drinking water, and we will protect water quality and its quantity in our streams and lakes. We will put communities before profit and ensure that there is sufficient, safe drinking water for today and tomorrow. We'll ensure that water use decisions incorporate sources of knowledge, such as cumulative impacts, community values, citizen science, and traditional knowledge. And when we're making water use decisions, we'll revise water tests and models to account for the unpredictable changes in historic patterns due to climate change. And most importantly, we will respect the duty to consult our Indigenous communities when we're developing the water-taking rules and permits. The Paris Gulf Moraine provides our clean drinking water for Brantford-Brant, and 6 nations, and we must protect those lands now before it's too late, before we lose forever the natural capital and the natural services that they provide. Continuing to build houses now when we know that area should be protected is just as absurd as the recently proposed and ill-conceived notion to reopen the Greenbelt in Halton. The Greens will freeze urban boundaries now to stop urban sprawl and protect farming, water, and natural heritage in the greater Golden Horseshoe. We will grow the Greenbelt to protect a blue belt of significant and significant hydrological and ecological areas where urbanization should not occur, including where it overlaps the lands recently moved to Brantford. We'll do what it takes to protect the Paris Gulf Moraine.
And Ontario has 4 publicly funded school systems. Will your party take a look at that structure, and will it also look at funding for other faith-based groups?
Absolutely. So one thing that folks may not know about me is my parents were both teachers. And at the same time, they divorced when I was young, and they both remarried teachers. So I learned how to divide and multiply at an early age. Growing up with 4 teachers, I know that education is important. Our children are our future. The skills, we need to make sure that they get the skills that they need. We need to focus on classroom outcomes, and we need to focus on better classroom experiences. We need to look at making sure that we provide children with better outcomes, not better test scores. We need to get rid of the EQAO testing to do that. And to directly answer the question, we do need to merge the English and French school system so that we can save on administration and reinvest those monies back into the classroom experience and better outcomes. We need to also make sure that we look at the classroom sizes when we're doing that. We need to look at the fact that some of our classes are getting too big, and we need to make sure that our primary school classes are getting down to the average 22 students per class so that teachers can teach effectively in them. We need to make sure that we're looking at our kindergarten classes and taking an advanced approach to reducing those class sizes and providing good early childhood education as well. And we also, need to look at the rural schools. Rural schools play much more of a role in our communities than I think that we're currently valuing them for. And the Greens would make sure that we take immediate steps that any rural school with an attendance of over 60% would be immediately exempted from any consideration of closing. And for those under 60%, we'd look at how we can work with the community to make better use of that space in our schools, in the community, and keep our rural schools open as community hubs that they are. Thanks very much.
Schools play a vital role in our community and best start in our life. The Liberal government is spending $18 billion to build new schools. Yes, I agree with the capped class sizes. There will be a capped class size as well. There is a full day kindergarten and increased funding for special education. Kids with autism are getting $300 million over the next 3 years to support their education. This will wipe out waitlist for special education assessment, clean the backlog for school boards, and ease some stress for the parents. This year, school boards are receiving more than $2.86 billion, and next year additional $300 million, total to $3 billion for special education. So education, and also we are giving $4.5 billion for education in community, in province, and also talking about the high school graduation rates. One of us was saying that the school's education is dropping, kids don't know how to add and things like that. Actually, the graduation rate has increased the highest for the longest period of time, and it is now 86.5%. So we are doing good as far as the schools are concerned. Thank you.
We make testing levels simpler, the tests easier, we spend more and more money into public education with the hopes that grade averages will improve, but what we're seeing is it doesn't do that. So theoretically, we can spend less money and get the same effect. Libertarians have an interesting plan this time around. Let's take the power away from the politicians and give it back to you. Let's put parents back in charge of their children's education. Let's take the funding and attach it to the student rather than the school. Now the parent can decide what school to send their kids based on production, performance, and abilities. The weak schools, they'll close. The strong schools will survive. Satellite schools will pop up, autistic, special needs. The funding can stay with the students, so therefore homeschool studies, well, they have funding. Private schools, they have funding. Public schools, they have funding. Where there's a need, the school will pop up and the funding will be attached to the student. Take government out of the equation, you're qualified to decide for you.
So it's not any. The truth is that in rural communities and smaller communities, especially, schools are the heart of the community. And under Kathleen Wynne's government, school boards have been forced to close schools because we're not properly funding education. And so that's why an NDP-led government by Andrea Horvath will fund schools properly. We're going to fund more teachers, more educational assistants, because we know that smaller class sizes are important. And when we have an average cap size of 26 kindergarten students, we say, no, we're going to have a hard cap of 26 students because that's what's best for our kids. And that's what's the point of education, right? Now, we have a lot of older schools in this community as well, and there's a $16 billion repair bill that's waiting as schools are crumbling because we're not making the important investments now. Now, as a school board trustee, I can tell you the discussions around the school board table with my fellow trustees, people are quite concerned that if we elect a PC Doug Ford-led government, we're going to see the same cuts we saw in the 90s. And we're going to see labor unrest across the boards, literally, and that's really going to hurt our kids. Now, we're in this predicament because we've had 15 years of a Liberal government that hasn't made children our priority. And as someone who's committed my working life, my professional career, to supporting children and families, I think it's time that families and children can start feeling hope. And that's one of the reasons we're going to do away with EQA testing that forces teachers to teach to the test so that they can focus as professionals on doing the job that they love to do, which is teaching our children. I'm really proud of our policies around education, can you tell?
So, for those of you who can't really see me, or guess my age, I'm 24. I'm a product of our current education system. Unfortunately, it's as bad as it sounds. But it cannot be all blamed on the Liberals, because a lot of these problems also started under Mike Harris and the PCs, and to a lesser extent under Bob Ray and the Democrats. The big problem that we have is from what is called the Lesser School Boards Act. And well, it's kind of plain and simple. It merges or amalgamates a lot of school boards. It also took away a bunch of their powers. The problem with that, though, is yes, it makes it simpler, but at the same time, you have districts that are unwieldy and massive, like what they have in York. Our district is a little unruly in some ways. And so my view is, yes, we should, kind of like the Libertarians said, have vouchers and connect funding to the children. That way they can go to homeschool, private schools, public schools, faith schools, etc. At the same time, I think we need reform, or maybe even just repeal the Lesser School Boards Act and give some of those, the old powers back to school boards. Because right now we have a problem with funding. They might not have that problem if they could actually implement a single tax. They have problems with certain positions. They can't do anything about it. They can't really have a say on curriculum anymore, and mold to what you guys want. We couldn't do that again. All we have to do is fix the way it works now. So those are the kind of approaches I would like to see when it comes to our education and education reform. Thank you.
Good question. Couple of facts. In Ontario, only half of all grade 6 students meet basic math standards. In fact, in our public schools, 62% fail to meet basic math standards. In our Catholic schools, 52% of our kids in grade 6 fail to meet math standards. Grade 8 math skills have improved everywhere in Canada over the past 6 years, except in Ontario. Literacy rates have not improved in the last 5 years. Study after study after study has shown that freedom of choice in educational systems provides better outcomes for students. That's why parents should be free to choose a public education system, a Catholic education system, a private education system, or a homeschool educational system. The Ontario PCs have absolutely no interest in expanding funding to other school choices from where they are at right now. When I talk to teachers, none of them say that they need or want more money. What they need is respect. They need respect from a government who, until now, just pays them off to keep them quiet during election time. And I'm looking forward to working together with the school boards to provide a better educational outcome for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Still on the theme of education, would you maintain or change the current sex ed curriculum?
Doug Ford has said that we need to reopen this. I find it very unfortunate that the Liberal government forced a change in sex education curriculum down the throats of the people of Ontario without doing proper consultation. They didn't listen, they didn't engage, they made a decision and went forward anyway. I look forward to actually talking to real people, seeing what the real needs are, so our kids can be properly educated. Thank you.
So I'm going to be honest with that part of it. I'm not against having a sex ed curriculum. I just don't think this is the kind of sex ed curriculum we need. The Win Amendment.
You've read it?
Sorry?
You've read it?
Yes, I have.
It's good. All of it?
Yes, I've read the sex ed part. I'm not. I said the sex ed curriculum is what we're asking about, and I say we need to reform the sex ed curriculum. Change it so that it starts at an older age, like say grade 8, and it starts just the basics. Everything else kind of maybe a little not as precise. And with the emphasis on abstinence, and slowly increase the knowledge, curriculum, etc. as they get older. And because right now the way we have it now, many parents of all faiths and even some no faiths do not like it. And then there's the fact that this sex ed curriculum was written by convicted pedophile Edmund Levitt, former deputy minister under Kathleen Wynne. Therefore, we need to have a change in sex ed. I don't say get rid of it, but I don't think we can keep it the way it is. So if you want reform, not only in this education area, but other education areas, vote no legal. Thank you.
Lest any of you think that I'm just a dyed-in-the-wool partisan and can't think for myself, I want to be able to tell you that I congratulate the Wynne Liberals on bringing forward this much-needed update to the health and phys ed curriculum in Ontario. And absolutely, we appreciate the importance of consent for children, for knowledge about their bodies. And this is information that's going to make our children safer in terms of naming our bodies. And I couldn't be more pleased that more children will have access to that information and that safety plan.
There's a difference between human growth and development and current curriculums. Libertarians would repeal this because we believe firmly that parents raise kids, not the government. The government's role is to instruct on human growth and development in general. Parents raise kids, not the government, and that's the way it should be.
Mr. Pratt, I would like to thank Alex for her comments. I believe she understands them better because of a good teacher. In an age of Facebook, Snapchat, and social media, we need to ensure our students have the information they need to make informed choices about their health. The previous health and physical ed curriculum was dangerously out of date. It was over 15 years old. Our government consulted with parents, students, health experts prior to updating the curriculum, including psychologists, mental health experts, and health scientists. In fact, this curriculum underwent more consultation than any curriculum in Ontario's history. It included consultations with parents, teachers, students, and organizations, and we consulted with approximately 4,000 parents. Since 2007, we have consulted with parents, student teachers, and 170 stakeholders. Previous health and physical education program, as I just mentioned, was 15 years old. But what I want to say over here is, children should have the consent to know about what is happening to them, so they can save the predators, so that nobody can misguide them. It is an important part. We all need to be educated, but yes, there should be a time and stage for education, what is being taught to them. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll be unusually brief about this, and unusually brief for me, as most people who know me, I tend to talk a lot about things. The Green Party absolutely supports the curriculum. We support increased and improved safety and well-being in our classrooms. Students have a right to know about themselves. We have a right to know about our bodies and how we interact with the world. We need to put more supports into improving mental health in our schools and increasing funding for guidance counselors that can support our students as they come of age, support our children as they come of age, learn about themselves, and learn about how they interact with the world. So we absolutely support this curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Regardless of who forms the next government in Queen's Park, you're going to be faced with an empty cupboard or high debt. How do you plan to deal with that situation?
Absolutely. Thanks very much for that question. It's an important one. And the Greens look at everything that we do through the lens of sustainability. What that means is meeting our needs today without compromising the needs of future generations to meet their own needs. Simply put, we won't mortgage our children's future. We need to have an honest conversation about what we're going to do and how we're going to pay for it. In the Green Platform, you will see both what we're going to do and how we'll pay for it, so that you, as voters, can see what it means for you and what it will cost. Most of the pledges that we make in our platform are paid for by savings generated from ending unsustainable plans, like saving upwards of $70 billion by canceling the unfair hydro plan to pay for the introduction of a basic income guarantee. Making homes more affordable, helping homeowners save money by saving energy through home energy retrofits. Money spent in efficiency that's creating 7 times as many jobs as investments in oil and gas. And how are we going to pay for it? We can pay for it by saying no to Ontario Power Generation's request to triple our electricity prices. We can close the Pickering nuclear plant on schedule this August and avoid $1.1 billion in costs while creating 16,000 good jobs. As I said, we can purchase low-cost hydro instead of high-cost nuclear. For the most part, Greens are talking about getting better value for the taxes we are paying. By changing where we focus and making decisions based on sustainability rather than just business as usual, we see a future where we can tackle the debt and move towards balanced budgets without mortgaging our children's future to pay for it.
Debt and deficit, it's a topic nowadays. We have made a deliberate choice to invest in care, healthcare, childcare, and senior care. As a result, the Liberals have a small deficit, less than 1% of GDP. We did the hard work to bring the province back to balance, but right now we need to invest in care. We have chosen to invest in the infrastructure, healthcare, education, and other important services that people rely on. We are making prescription drugs free for children and youth and for seniors. We have invested in free tuition and we have invested in childcare. Ontario Liberals have always stood up to protect vital government services. We have made the largest investment in public infrastructure in the province's history, more than $190 billion over 13 years. This includes investment in roads, bridges, highways, hospitals, and schools. Just to wrap it up, budget always, from 1965, if you look at the budget history, it was starting from 1.5 billion, and it has been always in deficit. It increases according to the needs, according to the demands of the people, and what is important to serve and give back to the people and our progress. Thank you.
Deficit and budgets. First off, budgets balance themselves. Less government and those subsidies. What I think is an interesting fact here is in 2011, and this is according to Lenny's Ontario Financial Returns, 2011 and 2014, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Conservatives were all in debt as parties. They can't manage their own debt. They can't manage their own books, but yet they want you to believe that they can do it for you. They can't. This took years to get into debt. It's going to take years to get out of debt. We can't get out of debt by spending more and more and more money. It's not your money. It's theirs. Stop spending it.
Well, I understand about balancing budgets. In fact, the Great Area District School Board, along with the other trustees, I balance a $300 million budget. So that's a concept I'm familiar with, actually. Now, how are we going to pay for our vision, for the hope we want to bring to our province, for our communities? We're going to be asking, finally, the wealthiest among us, in terms of individuals and corporations, to pay more of their fair share. So people earning more than $220,000 will pay 1% more in income tax, and people earning more than $300,000 will pay 2 percentage points more. We believe it's the right thing to do, to ensure that our seniors can get care, to ensure that hallway medicine is ended, to ensure wait times shorten instead of continue to grow, to ensure that we can bring Hydro One back into public hands. Now, the 4 PCs will tell you that this is a pipe dream. But this is the responsible thing to do, is to ask those who can pay just a little bit more, because we know middle-income families are feeling squeezed as it is. And it's not that we resent paying taxes, we just want to know that we're getting good value for taxes. And that's what we're committed to as New Democrats. And we have a fully costed, audited platform for you to review at your leisure. You can find that online if you Google Ontario NDP Platform 2018. And it's something we're very proud of, because even Stephen Page, who was the parliamentary budget officer, reviewed it and called our plan reasonable. And it's easy to sling mud if you're the PC leader, because he has no platform, so he can make up numbers on the fly. But New Democrats are responsible, and we want to bring back hope to all of everyone in Ontario.
So I would propose that we need to look at the budget and reform the budget. In Vancouver, a few years back, the city wanted to, I can't remember what the project was, but they wanted to fund the project. And they proposed a transit tax increase. They had a referendum on that, and people said no, they didn't want tax increase. And a few months later, there was a report found where the transit department managed, by reviewing their own budget, to find $10,000 in waste that they could then transfer to this project funding. I was reading a book recently called Imperfect Union, and the gentleman, I cannot recall his name, said that the only way the welfare state works is if you have efficient services that properly use tax dollars. And so my view is, I'll be honest with you, we can't budget the balance in one term. It'll probably take 2 or 3 terms, regardless of which government you consider. So we need to make gradual reductions that provide effective service, but at the same time lower taxes and the deficit. And I think we can do that, as Vancouver did, as certain jurisdictions in the states have been doing. And so, like I said, I would propose a gradual increase over the years of maybe 10% in certain areas. Decreasing the pay of politicians and bureaucrats, because, do our representatives need to make over $200,000 a year while there are people struggling to get by? Okay, I might not be sure on the salaries, but the point is that we need budgetary relief. Thank you.
The Wayne government has created a financial disaster in the province of Ontario. Every baby born at the Brantford General Hospital owes almost $22,000. Every month, we spend $1 billion, that's $12 billion a year, that's 12 new hospitals a year, just on the interest on our debt. This is unacceptable. The Financial Accountability Office, the Auditor General both agree that the Liberal government has understated their deficit for this year by 75%. That's another $5 billion. That's another 5 hospitals. The Liberals put out a press release yesterday that the NDP platform is based on faulty math. So I don't know where they get this little bit more from, but I believe it's coming out of everyone's pocket. We need a PC government that is going to launch an independent commission and an inquiry to dig into the state of the province finances so we can get an accurate picture of what's going on. And then we have to find those efficiencies. I don't think there's anyone here in this room that doesn't think that we can save 4 cents on every dollar that the government spends. That's how we're going to fix this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. In our system, we are not just voting for one of you folks. We also have to think about the leader. So we would like you to tell us, what qualities do you admire in your party leader that would make us believe that he or she would be a great premier?
Doug Ford knows how to listen. When he stated that we could consider opening up a little bit of the Greenbelt in order to provide low-income housing for people who need it most, and the people of Ontario said no, he listened. He changed his mind. Those low-income people won't get their low-income housing in Greenbelt areas. Doug Ford is going to make this province open for business. He's going to turn around this train that's going off the track. We all know that after 15 years of Liberal government, that Ontario is in big, big trouble. And we know that if we put the NDP in power, they're just going to put it in high gear. We need to stop the train. We need to turn it around. We need a new direction. That's only possible in Ontario PC government. Thank you.
The leader of the Valley Bug Party is Greenbelt. That's a lot to unpack. I guess the best way to describe Mr. Vesna is he would be a green conservative. He was with the PC party, Canadian Progressive Conservative Party until Brantford-Brant, and then he was with the Green Party before. In fact, under the Green Party, he was brought in to deal with John Travell and his cohorts when they kind of tried to infiltrate the Green Party. Because he believes in the low taxes, the spending responsibility, the budget reforms of the Conservatives, but he cares about environmental concerns, regulations, etc. of the Green Party. Now, one of the reasons why he'd be a great premier is he's one of those people who, what's the clean version of this? He takes no nonsense from anybody, essentially. And the reason he started his party is because he's sick and tired of what he called follow the leader politics. It's all about following the leader, following the party line. Or what he wanted was people would elect people who would put the people first. That's the way he runs his campaign, that's the way he does politics. So if you want someone who wants to represent you, who wants to give more power to you, who wants more, involvement from you, wants to vote. Thank you.
I've had the real pleasure to get to know Andrea Horvath over the past 6 years when I've worked with her on lots of different issues. But I can tell you a little bit about her. And I can tell you that I know why she's the most trusted and most popular leader in our provincial politics today. She's someone who's so passionate. She goes to bat for what she believes in. And she's open. She can sit and listen at a kitchen table with someone and let them say their piece and help them feel heard, because she understands. She wasn't born into privilege. She worked her way through university waiting tables. She became a single mother, and she knows every corner of this province because she doesn't just hang out in downtown Toronto. She's from right up the road in Hamilton, and she's spent all of the years that she's been the leader of the NDP traveling, speaking to people in communities all over the province. And in fact, just in the past 4 months, she's been to Brantford-Brant 4 times because she cares about what we have to say. Now, she's not only passionate and hardworking, but she is hopeful and optimistic about what we can be as a province. And she's proven that time and time again by holding the Liberals accountable, by putting forward great ideas that come from people. And she's a great leader because she sourced a candidate like me.
As deputy leader of my provincial party, my boss is Alan Small. And he's a former teacher. And what I like about him is he engages people as an individual. He's an individual first, a politician second. And to have that open mind, be able to engage any group, to study the issue of the day. I've known him to stay up all night just to get an answer, appropriate answer. And that's inspiring to me. I do know that after this particular election, he will resign as leader, and the deputy leader will become the new leader here in Ontario. I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Liberals, I'm actually proud of Catherine Bent. The question I have in front of all of you is, what we did not want, what she's giving. She is working for care. It's everything to do with the care of the people. What did we not want? Did we not want care for our children, for our infants, for our children when they were going to college and universities and could not afford the fee, and they were going into a debt and they had to pay later on in their life? Now it's free for them. We didn't want, or you did not want the single moms to get education, minimum living wage, or the seniors getting better help in the hospitals. So what we did not want, doing all this, we went into a debt. But if you look at the previous governments, if you look at PCs or NDPs, look what PC did. They sold 407 when it was right at the time it was about to make money. So we all, no matter which government it is, mistakes must have made somewhere. Idea is to fix it and move forward. NDPs on the other hand, best of the whole thing at the property, we all know that. So we can't really blame the government. It's basically what we're doing is to give our people a power to flourish, our country to progress, our province to progress. As I said, we are leading in G7 for the last 3 years, and unemployment rate has been the lowest for the last 17 years. So how can we say that province did not do it? Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, so electing a leader, Mike Schreiner. Never really met a man like Mike before. He's quite inspirational. To give him a bit of a background, he's a leading advocate for what he believes in. He's a leading small businessman. He comes from small business roots like me. I don't think he ever really expected to be in politics. when he talks about it, he talks about the fact that I think it was his family, Sandy and the kids, when he would come home and complain about the state of politics and how it was hindering him in running Local Food Plus and Guelph, and why weren't we doing more to provide markets for our farmers, to promote local foods, to do things that would support the Ontario economy and build a stronger and healthier community. And finally, I think Sandy and the kids, Beata, said, you know, Dad, why don't you just go and run and change it? And he said, well, I will, but I'm going to have to be honest about how I do it. And they said, yes, that's exactly right. We have to be honest about how we do it. We have to have honest conversations. And Mike's a consensus builder. He works with others across party lines on issues that matter to us all. He built consensus in Guelph on issues like protecting Guelph's drinking water. He worked with all parties, parties of all the colors, the whole rainbow that signed on to protecting Guelph's drinking water from the quarries. It's quite remarkable. And it's also quite remarkable what he's done as the Green Party leader, not even having a seat at Queen's Park. Not having a seat at Queen's Park, he was able to liberate local beer, something I think many of us in this room probably enjoy from time to time, and certainly we're seeing it helping our local economy with bringing up local breweries. We were also able to get big money out of politics. We got corporate and union donations out of politics without even having a seat at Queen's Park. And what does all of that lead to? It leads to you're going to have a leader that will be honest and straightforward. He won't say one thing to you and something else in the back rooms. In fact, he doesn't even like to go into the back rooms. When he's asked about the Greenbelt, he says the same thing to developers as he says to us in the party. Thanks very much. Thanks for your attention tonight.
Thank you, candidates. We've got 2 more questions. We've had lots of questions tonight about water. And so we've had questions that range from what will your party do to protect our drinking water? What are your stance on large corporations extracting the water from our ground source water? What will you do about contamination, protection of our drinking water, aggregates, all kinds of questions around water. So I'll let, the question is your party's platform on water.
So again, I'll summarize. I spoke about this earlier, but absolutely, water is essential. You know, for the Greens, I think that we have to do more and more to protect the lands that are providing the natural services for our water. The Blue Belt that I mentioned earlier, I didn't really get time to talk about, but the Blue Belt is an area similar to the Greenbelt. Doesn't get as much discussion as the Greenbelt does, but it's an area that surrounds our lakes and streams across Ontario. Provides the drinking water for 1.2 million people currently. And you'll be surprised to hear that in the next 20 years, it's going to provide the drinking water for 2 million people across Ontario. We need to be talking about protecting the Blue Belt. We talk about in the county, or we talk about in the city, the amount of money that we pay for water treatment facilities. The natural services that our lands provide are incredibly valuable. We get billions of dollars from the trees, from the land, from our lakes and streams. These natural services we can't afford to pay for. The councillors in the room will tell you our property taxes are stretched far enough. They can barely afford to pay for the services that we want to see in our communities today. We certainly can't afford to replace the natural services that our lakes, our streams, our fields, the moraines that we love, the places where we go hiking, the places that we get recreational enjoyment from also provide our drinking water. They provide the clean air that we breathe, and we can't afford to pay for it otherwise. We can't afford to lose it. We have to do everything we can to protect those lands, to protect those services, and we will. The Green Party will absolutely stand up. We can find other places to grow. We can find other places to develop. We can't find other places to get clean drinking water and clean air. Thanks very much.
Thank you. We get water from the Grand River and Paris-Gord moraine, and it's very important for the quality of water to be good and clean. Someone earlier mentioned about the First Nations, that their water is not good, and I think I read that in the paper as well. This is one thing we also want to work on, and we should be working on. Everyone is entitled to have a clean and good drinking water. This is why we are working hard on the Greenbelt as well. That also works to give us a clean drinking water. Thanks.
what we're looking at is the polluters. It seems government, municipal government, provincial government, to get away with it. We need to go after the polluters, including government. We look around Lake Ontario and municipalities, clear video on YouTube and other social media, sewage being drained into our lakes, but that's government, but yet nothing's being done. We're firm believers in property rights, so property owners have ownage to what's underneath their land and what's above their land. It's their property. That must be enforced. But again, polluters and people who affect our environment should be punished, prosecuted, and that includes the government.
So the Liberal candidate referenced a shocking statistic that I shared in the Chamber of Commerce televised by Rogers debate last evening. And, you know, you'll forgive me if you watch that debate for repeating it. But many people are shocked to learn that just 40 minutes south of us, on the reserve of the Six Nations of the Grand River, 80% of families do not have safe drinking water in their homes. Now, this is not all the way up north where there are ice roads and it's not passable, where communities are evacuated every year due to flooding. This is right here at home in our riding. And that's unacceptable to us as New Democrats, and that's why Andrea Horvath, my leader, has pledged that we're going to ensure that we fix the problems, ensure access to good education for our neighbors on Six Nation, and partner with them to provide safe drinking water. We're going to send Ottawa the bill. Now, I've also stood with many of you in this room around the struggles over the past several years that you've had, and supported the organizing efforts of the CCOB around the aggregate extraction that we're facing. And I can tell you that New Democrat government will ensure that the most stringent regulations are applied when it comes to protecting safe drinking water, because once that drinking water is impacted, you can't get it back again. We want to protect it.
So there were a couple questions and one question, so I'll try and answer as many as I can. In regards to the bottled water companies, I'm very wary of bottled water companies because, as you know, the documentary Blue Gold points out, you know, if you take water in bottles or in bulk or in plant matter and ship it somewhere else, that water isn't being returned to the ecosystem; it's being returned to the ecosystem somewhere else. So I'm very wary of allowing those kind of operations, or letting them run willy-nilly. And when it comes to water conservation, I'm not entirely sure who's in charge of what. I know there's a Conservation Act which has conservation authorities, but I think municipalities can also input conservation areas. I would propose that conservation be downloaded to a single-purpose government with various conservation districts or authorities, and that these trustees be popularly elected, because unfortunately, as the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority has shown, appointed trustees can be corrupt, as they sold off a lot of the conservation area to companies and people they knew. So that's how I believe we should deal with conservation authorities, and how we should implement conservation districts. Because conservation is very important to me, and I believe when it comes to clean water, we should focus on a program that not only provides funds for cleaning water and soil, but also creates jobs in those areas through contracts and other things, because, we can't live without water.
Absolutely. For the last 8 years, I've been a member of the Brant Waterways Foundation. Our motto is to connect people to healthy waterways. The tagline is simple: preserve, protect, enhance. At the County of Brant, we have implemented low-impact design. We need to move towards using permeable pavers. Historically, if you look at a storm water management pond, you see engineers trying to move the water as quickly as they can into the nearest water course as quickly as they can, and we need to return that water that falls on the roofs and lawns and driveways back into the groundwater supply from where it came. The growth plan calls for 500,000 people to move into the Grand River watershed by 2051. I learned that from the Grand River Conservation Authority when they gave their annual report to our council during our budget season. My first question, and I apologize for getting into the mundane, but my first question to them is, what are we going to do with the sewage? Can our current water treatment facilities and technology handle the sewage of 500,000 people and put the effluent into the Grand River? The simple answer is no, it cannot. So I've asked every engineer that I can find on a regular basis, what kind of technologies can we find in order to do this effectively, so that we can hit our growth targets, so that we can hit our intensification targets, so that we can move people here, make it a great place to live, work, and raise a family, and still be able to return that water to the groundwater supply. Six Nation received funding for a water treatment plant. They did not receive funding for water lines in the houses. I'm so proud of my relationship with Six Nations and King County Brant's relationship with Six Nations, and look forward to working with them to make that better. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Before we get to the last question, I want you to know that there's some we haven't got to tonight. I've always been told that the mind can only absorb what the bottom can endure, and you folks have been sitting for quite a while, so I just wanted you to know the people here tonight are interested in library funding, healthcare funding, post-secondary school tuition rates, labor unrest with post-secondary school situations, rural infrastructure, agricultural education, GO Transit expansion to this area, infrastructure projects for this area, including a bridge over the Grand River. We could be here quite a lot longer. I've tried to group our questions as much together as we can. But the last question for you as a panel would be to think, we're fast forward 4 years from now. One of you has won tonight. What are you going to say is your proudest achievement of what you did in the last 4 years?
Very simply, that over the last 4 years, I can say with confidence that I have worked for each and every single person in this room to the best of my ability. Working together for you. Thank you.
Win and looking back on it, my greatest accomplishment would be pushing for your voices to be heard through democracy, through right call elections, referendums, plebiscites, responsible government. Even if these things have not gotten through, the fact that I pushed for it was that you can have more to say is a great accomplishment.
I know that 4 years from now, we'll be sitting together in a room just like this, and I'll be able to say how proud I am of my track record to be a fierce advocate to each and every one of you, but also in my abilities to be collaborative, to work across party lines, to work with difficult people. And I know that I can say this because that's exactly what I've been able to do as a school board trustee of the Grand River District School Board. And that's why my colleagues re-elected me as vice chair of the committee of the whole, because even though we come and are comprised as a board of people of many different political stripes, of many different viewpoints, coming from many different backgrounds, they recognized in me the ability to be sensible, to be reasonable, to be thoughtful and considered in my approach, and to always, always put children first and what's best for our children. And it's that same experience, it's that same reasonable approach, it's that same ferocious passion in defending and advocating for what we need here that's going to make me so incredibly proud to be here.
We often get, why do we do this? And it's because we want to make a difference. So if elected, I'd be looking back. I like this community now. I love this community. I think we have the best businesses. We always have the best panel of candidates. We don't attack each other. We attack the issues. It's very, very proactive. So in 4 years, I look back and I would say one simple thing. It was a pleasure and an honor to serve this community.
I know in 4 years, when I'll be sitting here as your MPP, you all will be very proud of me. You'll be very happy. I know the plans we are putting forward, which are coming in 4 years and next 4 years after that as well, are really practical plans. Plans what we need. Everything, any need we are putting forward for the care is required. So right now, maybe you're not thinking that far, but I'm very sure, I'm very positive. In 4 years, you will be very thankful for all the platform which Liberals are giving. Thank you.
Thanks. In 4 years, my proudest achievement will to have been honest with you. Honest in the conversations we have about what we need to do, how we need to do it, how we're going to pay for it. I'll be proud to have told you both what we plan to do and how we pay for it, and get your feedback on what it means to you and how we make these choices together. I'll be proud to have put an end to the cycle of fairy tale politics where politicians make unrealistic promises, giving distorted views of the facts and then making excuses for not delivering. I'll be honest. I'll be proud to have worked with you to keep our property taxes lower in the long run. Today, our communities are feeling the impact of climate change directly. And what that means is our property tax dollars are being diverted to pay for the impact of climate change instead of providing the services that make our communities great. As one example, flooding last year in the city of Brantford. It was a huge rainstorm. People might remember it in June of last year. Incredible amount of rain in a very short period of time overwhelmed the water, the stormwater runoff systems in one of the highest elevations in Brantford, and yet it overwhelmed the system. Cost $500,000 in damages. Those $500,000 that didn't go to libraries or festivals, didn't go to our sports arenas or the transit services that we provide, didn't go to any of the services we want. That's the impact of climate change. I'll be proud to have worked with you about what the honest costs of mitigating climate change are for our community, about how we make the most of the limited property tax dollars that we have, how we prepare for the future and meaningfully make plans so that we can pay for the costs that we have today, that we can meet our needs today without compromising our children's ability to meet their own needs in the future. Most of all, we'll make that decision together, honestly, in real conversations. Thank you.
At this point, I'd like to ask our independent candidate, if he's still here, Dave Bell, to come up and lead off some closing remarks. I want to give the other folks a chance to catch your breath a bit. And timers, Dave will have 5 minutes.
Madam Moderator, ladies of Women Inspiring Women, fellow candidates, and our community neighbors. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening, to speak with you at least for the first 3 minutes, and then of course to conclude now. I would like to address a few key points as an independent candidate from a grassroots perspective. And I'm going to be very firm about this. Verbal scoffing between political parties is no different today. It's the same old business. It's not a change for the better. It's not a change at all. If you want to make a change and be effective, you need to own the challenges that are there before you. You need to step up. You need to fix them. You need to be the change. Now, I'm not talking about you as in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the people that you elect to represent your needs at a grassroots level, not the provincial policymakers sending down the message to your community. You want results? Elect an independent voice that has no strings attached to them whatsoever to represent you. That's you, ladies and gentlemen, your children, your grandchildren, your grandparents, and the like. Be that change. We talked about some key points. The budget. You want to turn down the debt? Pay the debt back. Reduce the interest premiums. Reinvest back into and reduce. And upon reducing, by the way, we do this with a little bit of delayed gratification. And delayed gratification is simply saying, ladies and gentlemen, save the free programs, reduce the debt, save the interest, reinvest the interest back into, or the saved money from that interest back into those community programs. The Greenbelt. Take the opportunity to have the duty to consult with your neighbors. And that includes the duty to consult with Six Nations. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the blue elephant in the room this evening. Nobody seems to want to address, because you got to go beyond just your neighbors in the farming community and the neighbors in industry. You have to talk with Six Nations. You have an obligation under the Supreme Court of Canada decisions with a duty to consult. As for seniors, how about we create a grand central hospital system that covers all aspects of health? We have a 100-acre farm, and I've done the work, and unfortunately I can't sit here and debate and show you the plan. We have the ability to put 2 Brantford General Hospitals, 3 St. Joe Hospice Centers, and housing for seniors that need that additional long-term extended care. It can be done. The land is there. It's access to the 403. It's access to the 24, and it serves every single niche community in our neighborhood. Minimum wage is long overdue. Phase it in over 3 years. Index it to allow industry to plan for its ability to meet those needs. Let's develop a modified minimum wage tax class to put more net pay into those who pay or are receiving minimum wage pay. Hydro, let's make it simple and clear. Return it to the province. Hold on to the initiatives that work for environmental safeguards. Eliminate overpaid contractors. Sell the surplus to out-of-province, out-of-countries at rates that profit our province. That makes sense. Take those profits and use them in programs to reduce our hydro rates for the seniors, the underprivileged, and those who need to maintain hardship in their life, a better life to stay in their own homes. Education, let's rebuild for life essentials. Let's get back to the absolute basics of the 3 R's. More family input into our child's needs in regarding all aspects of education. Free up services and funds for homeschooling and other educational formats that meet our community's needs. And I know time has shifted from agriculture to industrial, and now we become a bedroom community or bedroom communities. We need to adjust those educational components. Let's look at colleges and university programs, including the dynamics of skilled trades, the shortfall that's in our communities. With somebody like an independent, I have the ability to cross over party lines and address all those concerns. And the biggest elephant in the room is the Indigenous community. We have relationships with Six Nations in Mississauga and New Credits. How about the province, and as your elected MPP, step up to start dealing with the Truth and Reconciliation Committees. There are first 42 of 95 recommendations from health, education, justice, and child welfare directly impact our province and directly affect our community, ladies and gentlemen. It is with an independent that we teach our children education, life experience, and industry. They become independent. Strong, steadfast, independent leaders within their own families. My experience, my community, dedication and volunteerism, authentic approach to leadership, practical to represent you. Build the policies that have our community in mind first and take it to the province next. On June 8th, be more than just a voice, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Robel, the independent choice for our community. Thank you very much.
So our candidates, we will go in reverse order for your closing remarks, and that starts at the far end with the Progressive Conservative.
I want to thank you, Marilyn, Women Inspiring Women and the candidates for a great debate. I'd like to thank you, Marilyn, as moderator for putting up with us, Women Inspiring Women and the candidates for a great debate. We've had a good exchange on the ways we're going to tackle the issues. You've heard us talk about what issues that affect you, your pocketbook, your health care, and your future. You've heard about our health care ideas to build a new hospital, open up long-term care beds, and provide better service. And you've heard about how we'll put money back in your pocket by cutting taxes and hyper rates. If we're going to do all those things and more, we need a change in Ontario. But more importantly, we need a change in direction. You won't get that from the Liberals, and you won't get that from the NDP. They both want to tax more and spend more. You only get a change in direction from the Ontario PCs. It is time for a government that invests in service rather than throwing away $12 billion a year on interest payments. It's time for a government that makes it easier to create jobs. It's time for a government that puts money in your pocket instead of pulling it out. It's time for a government that is responsible and respectful and provides you with the services you need at a price that you can afford. I'll work with people from every part of the community, our community, and from every walk of life to address our issues, local issues, to pursue a new hospital, help our university and colleges to grow, help our most vulnerable people, and build a dynamic, growing economy. On June 7th, please vote to elect me as your PC MPP, a proud member of a new PC government. Working together, we can do it. Thank you.
I would like to thank the Women Inspiring Women for setting up this event. Very informative and very interesting. Also, who does your artwork? That is an awesome poster. Like, I really want to get a copy of that. Does anyone sell copies here? I'll buy. Do you take debit? Like I said, thank you for coming out, because participation is very important. And as I've said before, the answers on the left, the answers on the right, they're not going to cut it. What will cut it is, democracy reform that will give you a voice, an MPP who will advocate for, a third position, a third way, a reformed answer, and someone who can be held accountable, not through just, the normal avenues that we have now, but by being able for you to be called that MPP if they do that job. If you want that kind of representative, if you want that kind of government, on June 7th, vote no leave up. Thank you.
You'll forgive me if after 2.5 hours, I need to stand up. So fierce. Thank you so much, Marilyn and your team at the Women's Institute for putting together tonight. I've so appreciated all of your thoughtful questions, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to more of them, but please feel free to email me. My email address is on the card that you can pick up the side of the room, and I'd be very happy to address any and all questions and concerns with you that way. Look, I love this community. And I know that we can choose change for the better. We don't have to keep settling for bad or worse. That doesn't need to be our lot in life. We have a lot to be proud of here in our communities and in our province. And people want to feel hopeful about the future. People want to know that we can get the child care that we need, and that's safe, that's affordable. It's the mood lighting just come on. People want to know that they can stay in their homes and find safe, affordable places to live and afford their hydro bills. That's really going to need to stay in here. I asked for this actually, yes. I know that we can work together better, and I know that we can put people back at the heart of government. And I know you're all ready to go home after tonight, and so I'm not going to take my full 5 minutes, but I want you to know that I'm serious about running to win. So is my leader, Andrea Horvath, and I hope that you consider voting for me on June 7th, Alex Spelsky, to be your next MPP for Brantford-Brant. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Thank you to my fellow candidates. Again, we get along outside of politics. We tackle the issue coming in. I'd like to point out that the condition of the province is because past governments, the Liberals, the Conservatives, the NDP, they're all the same. They're all the same policies, little tweaks, but they're all the same policies. Bigger, larger spending. The Liberals, they're about big government. That's what they do. The Conservatives are about big business. That's what they do. NDP's about big unions. That's what they do. Greens are about trees. That's what they do. Big trees, big trees. Libertarians are about the individual, which everyone can relate to. It's time to explore new possibilities in Ontario outside of this. I ask you to support the libertarian conspiracy theory, where we take over the government.
I would like to thank WI, Women Inspiring Women, our moderator Marilyn, and thank you everyone and my fellow candidates. It's not an easy thing to put your name forward, and I did not take on this task lightly. Brantford-Brant has been tremendously fortunate to have Dave Levac represent us for 19 years, and I thank him for endorsing me. Liberals are the only one to focus on broad range of working people, plan for healthcare, children, youth, and seniors. So, I ran because I believe Ontario should remain a place of equal opportunity. I believe women should be treated equally. I believe our children should have the opportunity for an excellent education. I believe our seniors should be treated with dignity and respect. I believe our medical care should be available to all. And above all, I believe in minimum living wage that can support a family. I can assure you, I will work with all levels of governments, and that's why I, Ruby Tour, am proud to stand as a Liberal and ask for your support on June 7th. I promise that you will not be disappointed in me. Please vote for Ruby Tour, your Liberal candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of the Women Inspiring Women, Women's Institute volunteers for putting this event together tonight, to my fellow candidates, and thank you to all of you for coming out tonight, for your thoughtful questions, and for taking the time to get engaged and get informed in this election. I hope that with what I've said tonight, maybe you've had the chance to get to know me a little better, or heard something different about the Green Party approach that you didn't know before. You know, there might just be one more thing that you didn't know about me. There was a time when I didn't get the need for sustainability either. I mean, I got the need to care for the environment, but I saw the sun coming up every day. The leaves were still on the trees. I recycled. What more was there? Back then, what I was looking for was to have my taxes be reasonable, my utilities to be reliable and affordable, and to know that there would be good jobs with decent wages, both for my future and the future of my children. This was the run-up to the 2008 federal election. I found myself at a town hall in Niagara facing much the same decision as you're going to be facing in June. Blue, red, orange, or green. A woman, some of you may have heard of her. Her name was Elizabeth May. She took the stage, and she was on fire about a new book that she had just co-written called Global Warming for Dummies. I knew I was in the right place. Then Elizabeth says, all sustainability means is meeting our own needs now for jobs, for clean water, clean air, without compromising the ability of our children and their children to meet their own needs. And suddenly I got it. The sun may still be rising every morning, but sea levels are rising too. Leaves may still be on the trees, but the ice caps are disappearing. I've been looking at the wrong things. I got it. Business as usual at the expense of the environment will just keep getting harder and more expensive, and even more so for future generations. We need to deal with the big picture now, so that it doesn't get harder for our children to deal with it in the future. There's a lot at stake on June the 7th. Do we keep the corporate tax cuts for the biggest businesses, or do we take 1% from the biggest companies and use it to reduce the tax on small businesses in our communities so that they can create more good-paying jobs, living wage jobs, right here at home? Do we continue to buy high-cost nuclear from Ontario Power Generation, or do we switch to low-cost water power from Quebec? Do we mortgage our children's future by artificially lowering electricity rates for ourselves today? Or do we offer everyone a basic income guarantee that will address poverty and provide a hand up for those who need it when they need it by getting out of the overpriced, outdated nuclear altogether? Do we allow continued urban sprawl to drive up our property taxes, or do we find ways to share the space we have with more people and families, building community while still respecting the nature and character of our neighborhoods and keeping our taxes lower in the long run? The decisions we make today about how and where we build, about how we generate and use energy, about how we address the very real impact of climate change, all will have a profound effect on our economy, prosperity, health, and environment for generations to come. You know, someone once said that the hardest thing to do in championship sports is to walk into the locker room at halftime and change the strategy that got you there because it just isn't working anymore. Well, business as usual just isn't working anymore. At work, at home, or at City Hall. It's simply not sustainable. We need to have honest conversations, real conversations about the choices we need to make and how we're going to pay for them. Let's bring people-powered change to the communities, to build the communities we want at a price we can afford now and in the future.
I have a few quick thank you remarks to make before we let you go. First, I'd like to thank the candidates for their engagement, and we wish each of you all the best in your campaign. Thanks to you, the audience, for attending and participating tonight. And lastly, I'd like to thank the team that organized this evening. Principally Marilyn Sewell, who had the idea and has worked tirelessly to make this event happen, and we truly appreciate the leadership she has given and all of her time and effort. So thank you. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we have a basket at the back table. If you are inclined to help defray the expense of this evening, Jennifer's holding the basket at the back door. If you wish to participate in that, please feel free. We would be most grateful. If you wish to hang around and speak to the candidates, you're welcome to. We wish you a safe trip home, and don't forget to vote on June 7th or at one of the many advanced polls. Sorry, one last note. I did mention to you there was a video being shot of this evening. If you wish to source that video, it will be on the website of Sustainable Brant. So sustainablebrant.org. There will also be a link to it from our Women Inspiring Women WI.ca. Thank you and good night.